So it's been a tough meet for Evelyn Ashford, who won the gold in the women's 100 in Los Angeles. I'm joined again now by Marty LaCroix, but it's been a great meet for Carl Lewis, who I don't want to say faded away in 85 and 86, but the people began to wonder what Carl was up to. They certainly know now. He won the 200 here yesterday. He won the long jump yesterday, and we're going to see him in the 100 now. What do you think his chances are?
I don't think he'll be beaten in the 100. Carl said he was taking 2 years easy. No one believed him. This is the meet where he's come back and said, look, I'm right on schedule. He doesn't appear beatable. It will appear at the start that he's about to be getting beaten because Lee McRae is going to get a fantastic start. Carl likes to come on at the end of the race and save his energies for the last 30 meters, and that's where he'll be won.
His knee has been bothering him, but he was able to run through that yesterday and pick up the victory in the 200, and he's a man who has been, I suppose, as publicized as any athlete, at least during the 1984 calendar year, and people have loved to delve into the mind of Carl Lewis, and so we asked him just a couple of days ago. Donna talked to him and asked him about his current state of mind. Here's what he said.
I feel very confident, Don. I mean, I'll be 26 next week, so I'm starting to head on down the pike, and I'm a little bit more relaxed than I was at the brashy 19, 20, 21-year-old. But I feel a lot more confidence in my life, and that just comes with age. And right now I know what it takes to be a good athlete and to be the best that I can be, and I'm out there trying to do it.
Meanwhile, yesterday, here was Carl Lewis in the long jump. It was the first time in history that 3 men went over 28 feet in the long jump. Larry Myricks and Mike Conley putting the pressure on Lewis, but Carl responding after Myricks had taken the lead by coming back to leap 28.4 and take that event. And then in the men's 200-meter dash, a scintillating start. There was Lewis already making up a good part of the stagger, had the lead as they headed down the stretch. Calvin Smith was staying right with him as well, but it was Carl Lewis racing to the tape to pick up the victory in the men's 200. So there he was, picking up his second title. Now he'll try for a third, and earlier he discussed what will be his strategy in the men's 100-meter dash.
I'm going to have to react to the gun very well. It's been a strong point for me in the past, but the last 2 years it's been very weak. I have to react to the gun and come out of the blocks and accelerate, basically like I've done in some of my big meets. Probably my best race was the Olympics. Because I came out, I accelerated. And the main reason I was behind is because I didn't react. But if I react to the gun and run a smooth race like the Olympics, I don't think I can lose to anybody.
So now live again, the men's 100-meter dash upcoming, and Calvin Smith, who is in this field, holds the mark at altitude, 9.93 at what was then known as the National Sports Festival in Colorado Springs. There are the lane assignments. Lee McNeil out of lane 1, Dennis Mitchell in 2. Now Lee McRae, who goes to the University of Pittsburgh, had a great indoor season in 3. He could be tough. Lewis in 4. Mark Witherspoon got off to a sensational start in the indoor campaign, trains with Lewis in 5. There's Calvin Smith, world record holder at 9.93 and 6. Harvey Glance is still running at the age of 30, 1976 Olympian. Brian Cooper on the outside.
Well, the action is in the middle of the track. Lee McRae broke Carl Lewis's record, world record, in the indoor 60. And a lot of times, McRae is only good for 60 meters. But in this meet, he seems to be maturing and being able to hold on a lot longer. But still, he's got Carl Lewis up against him. And Mark Witherspoon's a tall, lanky guy. He'll be dressed exactly like Carl and will almost look like him. The last 30 yards, he'll just be going a little slower.
Yeah, you would think. So there they are again on the inside. McNeil, Mitchell in 2, McRae in 3, Lewis 4, Witherspoon 5, Smith 6, Glance 7, Cooper 8. Men's 100-meter final.
Come up, come up, come up.
And they're told to come up, a false start.
Yeah, Mitchell, right there.
Well, you almost expect this to happen. You're allowed one false start, and if you're not one of the favorites, you're certainly going to take it.
Somebody in the group.
What they're telling us is that a still camera created that problem, and no one has been charged with the false start.
Well, that sounds silly that the sound of a camera would make the starter stop them, but actually Lee McRae practices reacting to the gun. His coach drops a nickel on the track, and he reacts to the sound.
On your marks.
So into the blocks they go again. There's no way, of course, Lewis can repeat what he did in L.A. with 4 first places here because there are no relays. That was the 4th gold medal in Los Angeles, the 4x100-meter relay. He looks for a 3rd individual title today.
Well, what the written press seems to fail to realize here as they write about how Carl is not giving interviews is that they probably will never see somebody win 3 events here in their lifetime.
Stand up, please, man.
And they are asked to stand up. Apparently the crowd was responding to activity at the pole vault pit.
The press here seems to want Carl to be Superman and also Mr. Personality at the same time. He's human. His knee has been bothering him throughout the meet. They were a little disappointed that he didn't talk to them between the long jump and the 200. They don't ask the other guys in the 200 to talk to them, and they haven't just finished the race. And, of course, Carl's father died just a month ago. Many people wouldn't even be here. Carl ran a race for his father 3 days after he died.
On your marks.
So his public posture is a lot different than the real Carl Lewis. He should be judged really on the next 10 seconds.
Lewis again in lane 4. He has McRae in lane 3, and the other man flanking him, Witherspoon, in the similar outfit in lane 5. And again, Glance in 7, the 1976 Olympian. Calvin Smith, world record holder in 6. And this time it is a fair start and an even start. And it is McRae out very fast, and Lewis will have a lot of ground to make up, and he, I don't believe, got it. Witherspoon may have won the race with Lewis and McRae all crossing the line in tandem, and Lewis comes up grabbing for his hamstring and hopping back toward the finish line.
I mentioned he was having some problems with his knee. Mark Witherspoon, his training partner, who you remember, Al, when we did an indoor meet in San Diego, I said Mark was perhaps the find of the season. Lee McRae was out fast, put a lot of pressure on Carl, and Carl and Witherspoon were cutting him down, and Carl just couldn't go for the burst the last 30 meters. Look at McRae, 3rd from the right. What a lead he has. Carl's back. Witherspoon still in about 3rd. Witherspoon wondering where Carl is, but Carl's just not going to have the lift the last 30 meters, as it's going to be Witherspoon, Carl, and Lee McRae.
And there they are crossing the finish line within a couple of hundredths of a second of each other. And we take a look right now as we isolate on Carl Lewis, who just had a little bit too much ground to make up.
Well, he had surgery on his knee last year, arthroscopic surgery. Between the 200 and the long jump, he had a little bit of a problem. This is his 3rd event of the meet, and the last time he went for a triple, the 200 was last. He didn't win that. The guy just gets tired. Hard to imagine.
So he settles for the silver as the unofficial results have Witherspoon winning it, Lewis winding up in 2nd place, McRae finishing 3rd unofficially, and we'll have to get an official accounting when we come back as to the time of the men's 100-meter final.
Down on the infield, Donna Deverona with Mark Witherspoon and Carl Lewis. You two both trained together. Mark, were you worried about Carl, and how did that race feel?
I'm always worried about Carl. I felt pretty well considering I had an injury this week, but it was a good race, except for Carl's leg.
Yeah, Carl, it seems like Evelyn Ashford pulled up in the 100. She said she might have not prepared right for this competition, and I know everybody thinks you're not fragile, but this kind of proves that you are. Why so many injuries?
Well, Donna, I think the problem is running the 200 before the 100. As we know, yesterday I ran 2 rounds full out and also had the long jump, so it's just too fatiguing to run that many events before you have a strong event like the 100 at the end.
And of course, Evelyn Ashford had that same problem, her best event being the 100. She also said to me that she had a problem running the 200 first. So what does this mean for the World Championships? You're going to be able to bounce back, and what is the injury, do you think?
Well, I definitely had a slight strain in the semifinal race, and I felt it there, and I knew that it was going to bother me, and I knew it was going to hurt, but I wanted to get an opportunity to make the team. And I'm really happy I finished, because the way I felt beforehand, I was pretty down on it, but I was able to get through, and I have the opportunity to get healthy. I don't think it's that bad work to keep me from that meet.
And I suppose if anybody beats you, we prefer your training partner, Mark Witherspoon. Mark, congratulations. Now back to you, Al.
Okay, Donna, and there is Witherspoon, and his time, the official time, is 10.04 seconds, 0.11 off the world mark of Calvin Smith. And so Witherspoon wins it. Lewis winds up second. 4/100ths of a second separate the top three, and Lee McRae is also on his way to the World Championships.